Hello and welcome back to Homegrown Theater Camp. I'm your director Mackenzie, and today in rehearsal we will learn how to speak like a dastardly villain, emphasize operative words in the script, and make our own sound effects. To be ready for that, you need to warm up. You can do that with the help of our warm-ups video. In the meantime, I'm going to mow the lawn. Okay there then, looks like we're ready to get into the rest of rehearsal. Now, when speaking your lines as your character in Peter Pan, it's very important to keep in mind the basics, those being projection and pronunciation, so that the audience knows what you're saying. But once you've got the basics down, you can start to get into different ways of transforming your character's voice. There's a few ways you can do this and differentiate your character's voice from the other characters. One of which is changing the rate at which you speak. Some characters talk quickly, some characters talk slowly. You can also change the character's pitch. But there's one way to completely transform a character's voice, and that is using accents or dialects. Dialects can be tough, so to learn how to do one for Captain Hook, we go to an expert, Kaedyn.
Hello, my name's Kaedyn, and today I'm going to be taking you guys through Captain Hook's British accent. First, start by lowering your voice and pretending you are a proper captain. It helps if you puff out your chest. When speaking your lines, instead of saying ah like in cat, say ah like in bot. This works for words like answer, ask, and past. Next, always add a Y sound to words like duke, student, and Tuesday. Make sure you're changing all of your words that have an O sound in them to O. This sounds like row, or moment, or don't. Change the Y sound at the end of your words to sound more like I instead of E. The sounds like very, many, or berry. Also, you can drop the R's from your words like car, or her, or bird. You can also add a sound instead of your R's, like observe, or brother. Now, here's a little tongue twister for you, just to help you out with the accent. The lips, the teeth, the tip of the tongue, the articulatory tools. Now go ahead and you say that. Say it 5 times fast, I dare you. Now, let's go over some of Captain Hook's famous lines. What the? That ticking. It can't be. Or, Mr. Smee, we haven't a moment to lose. Ha ha ha, you wouldn't dare fight old Hook man to man. You would fly away like a cowardly sparrow. Well, that's all I have for you for now, so good luck. I mean, good luck.
So now that you've got Captain Hook sounding like a truly dastardly villain, we can move on to the other ways that you can use your voice in Peter Pan. Now, you may have noticed while you're reading the script that there's a lot of different sound effects within it. There's a couple things that you can do with these. The first option you have is you could get a speaker or a set of speakers and then download the sounds onto a computer. And then you could take these sounds and sequence them using a program like QLab, but honestly an iTunes playlist would probably work fine. And then you can hire someone or ask someone really, really nicely to play these sounds at the exact right times in your show. But you know, now that I say that all out loud, it kind of sounds like a lot. So your second option, which I would probably recommend, is just to make the sounds with your mouth. Now, when you're making these sounds on stage, there's a couple things you want to keep in mind. The first thing is that you want to be projecting, so you want the audience to actually be able to hear these sounds. But at the same time, you don't want them to know, or you don't want them to see that an actor is making these sounds. So you can either turn away from the audience when you're doing the sound effects, or be behind a set piece or something. But make sure that you are still projecting so that they can hear the sounds. As far as trying to learn how to make the actual sounds, what you can do is you can listen to sound effects, like the ones you need in Peter Pan. You can either find them online or just think back, or you can listen to the real thing themselves. So, for example, one of the sounds in Peter Pan is the clock ticking on the crocodile. So, to do that, you could listen to an actual clock ticking, and then, with your mouth, just try to replicate that. Other sounds in Peter Pan are the chomp of the crocodile and a splash. So, with your castmates, you can play around with these sounds and see which one of you can do them the best, and then incorporate those into your performance. Don't worry too much about trying to make these sounds realistic, because unless you're really, really good, the audience is probably going to know that they're fake. Another thing to consider is which words you're putting emphasis on when you speak as a character. Wait. All right, let me try that again. Another thing to consider is which words you're putting emphasis on when you speak as a character. Yeah, that's better. It's important that you put emphasis on operative words when you speak. Operative words are essentially the words that explain what's happening. Most often, these are the nouns and the verbs. Let's take a line that Smee says from Peter Pan for an example. You want out? I suppose I'll go see what old Hook has to say about that. In the first part of the line, you want out, it makes sense to place emphasis on you and want, because you is the subject and want is the action that's happening. So you would say, you want out? Then, at the second part, well, I suppose I'll go see what old Hook has to say about that. It makes sense to emphasize, I suppose I'll go see old Hook and say, for the same reasons. Well, I suppose I'll go see what old Hook has to say about that. By emphasizing operative words and action words, you make the play's action clearer for the audience and tell a better story. I should go before I find more yard work to do, so I'll leave you to your independent rehearsal. Now you're ready to practice Hook's dastardly dialect, make your own sound effects, and emphasize operative words within the script. Take some time today to really polish your play before we add tech tomorrow. Until then, good luck and learn your lines. Thank you for watching Homegrown Theater Camp. You can subscribe to join the cast and download the script from our website. Homegrown Theater Camp is produced by Blixt Locally Grown, with support of the Nebraska Arts Council, the Nebraska Cultural Endowment, the Pearle Francis Finigan Foundation, Union Bank and Trust, and generous individual donors.